Hello, students, and welcome to class. Today, we are at what I consider to be just an aesthetically a very beautiful place, and this is a rock garden, a Japanese rock garden, and a common place of meditation that we will find in the form of Buddhism we're going to be looking at today, which is Zen Buddhism. Now, just a little bit of a review. Zen Buddhism is a branch of Mahayana Buddhism, and we learned about Mahayana Buddhism in our our last two lectures. And let me just go ahead and bring this up here. Mahayana Buddhism has this ideal, this notion that everyone can become a Buddha, that everyone has the nature of a Buddha, or rather the inner potential to become a Buddha. The ideal, why become a Buddha, is as a Buddha, one is able to benefit all sentient beings, all beings in the different six realms, by guiding them on the path of the Dharma. And Buddhas can manifest in different bodies. They can have multiple bodies at once, teaching different disciples. They're omniscient, they know everything, and they're eternally free. Mahayana Buddhism is the dominant branch of Buddhism found in East Asia. So this is places like Korea, China, Taiwan, and Japan, which we'll be looking at today. Mahayana also is common. We can maybe divide Mahayana. Mahayana has many different branches. One branch is the Pure Land branch that we looked at last lecture. And today we're going to look at the other branch of Mahayana Buddhism called Chan in China, or Zen in Japan. And this will be a brief introduction to Zen Buddhism. Zen. Zen is the form of Buddhism that is searching for what's called the original mind. And the original mind is the nature of the Buddha, and that mind is free of suffering. The quest for finding this original mind is based on a very important relationship, and that is the relationship of the teacher and the students, or sometimes called the guru-disciple relationship. Very strict code of discipline. We had saw earlier the Vinaya Pitaka. This is the basket of discipline, the codes of conduct. Zen will emphasize a very strict code of conduct, a way of life where the student is under the guru, under the teacher, pursuing this quest to find enlightenment, which is the experience of the original mind, the mind that is free from suffering. And this is again the Vinaya. Part of what Zen is aspiring for is the silencing of thoughts. We think about a lot of stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. Zen is about bringing that discursive thinking to a calm, placid state. And within that calm, placid state, one is then able to experience the original mind, the mind of a Buddha that is free from suffering. And this experience through it's called Satori, Southern Awakening. This is the end goal of Zen. It is a sudden awakening. It's a sudden awakening of the nature of our mind, which is the Buddha mind, the original mind, free from suffering. This sudden state happens unexpectedly, but it happens not without a cause per se. It happens in the course of training where the student is being guided through different techniques by the guru. It's the guru who's going to lead the disciple to this satori, the sudden state of awakening. How? So let's remember the foundation of Zen Buddhism is rules and codes of conduct that are governed and structured by a relationship between the guru and the disciple. And here we can see a discourse here. The guru is saying, the teacher is asking, oh master, is it proper for a monk to use email? And the response is, sure, as long as there are no attachments. Get it? No attachments. All right. Discipline and rules. That is something that is indispensable to Zen. There's many rules of conduct, etiquette, ways of entering a monastery, ways of greeting a teacher, ways of eating, and a quick quiz. All right, this is a self-quiz to kind of see where you are. Please write down your answers. Quiz question number 1. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Quiz question number 2. If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a noise? What was your original face, the one you had before your parents gave birth to you? So these are the questions that the student might get quizzed on by the master. Why? These are called koans. Koans are, again, the guru-disciple relationship. It's part of a curriculum of riddles and questions that the master will ask the students. And the student is going to be stumped on it for a while. And it's not meant to have a right or correct answer, but rather to open up through these kind of paradoxes, these riddles, open up the mind to new possibilities. So the teacher is not testing whether or not the student has the quote unquote right answer, but rather, are they developing mentally? This will lead to a state from freedom from mundane. So these are everyday thoughts like, how am I going to get my money? What do I have to do today? What are my responsibilities? Instead of worrying about what we normally worry about, the koan takes the mind away from that. And it's going to open the mind to the possibility of the sudden enlightenment, this satori. All right, everybody, we're going to take a break. Just kind of sit there for a little bit. Let's have a nice little sit. Semester is coming to an end. Yeah. Don't fall asleep. You'll get whacked with the stick if you fall asleep. Okay, you can pause the video and sit as long as you like. Well, that is the other major training that the disciple will undergo, is the practice of sitting. This is Zazen, sitting meditation. It's sitting and letting go of one's thoughts. And through this sitting and just letting go of one's thoughts, the ideal is to experience a state of the original mind. But don't fall asleep, or you will get whacked by this teacher. right, and again, Zen, we're keeping going back to this guru-disciple relationship, this teacher-student relationship. Anybody have the time? Check to see what time it is. I don't know when you're watching this video, but check. Make a note of the time. Did you note the time? Did you? Did you really note the time? Okay, so what time is it on your end? Well, what if I told you we all have the same time? Because what time is it is now? The time is right now. So nowness. Zen emphasizes living in the moments. So living in the moments, the time is always right now. No tomorrow, no yesterday, no later, no before, but really being present in the moment. And this is what it means to really live Satori, while you're eating, walking, breathing, and awareness of this. Grounded in this, not worrying about later on what happened earlier, but really mastering the moment. There's an old saying, before a man studies Zen, to him mountains are mountains and waters are waters. After he gets an insight into the truth of the Zen through the instruction of a good master, mountains to him are not mountains and waters are not waters. But after this, when he really attains the abode of rest, mountains are once again more mountains and waters are waters. Just kind of let that sink in, because this is Zen. We're not going to explain, we're going to become aware. And Zen will have a deep, profound influence on Japanese culture. The rock garden, common structures for meditation, very aesthetically appeasing. Poetry, called a haiku. Enlightenment is like the mind reflected on the water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water broken, although its light is wide and great. The moon is reflected even in a puddle an inch wide. The whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in one dewdrop on the grass. This is by the Zen master Dogen. And again, just let it sink in. It's not necessarily meant to be comprehended, but to open up the consciousness. Calligraphy, the practice, and this is the symbol often of emptiness or the original mind in Zen. So calligraphy. Ikebana is flower arrangements based on Zen Buddhist principles of simplicity and naturalness. And the other area where Zen becomes very popular is among the samurai, the warrior traditions. Partially is because if you can think about the ideal of combat, when you're in a combat situation, if your mind is elsewhere, if you're wondering about your family back home or what's going to happen if you win the battle or lose the battle, then one is not living in the moment of the battle, the state of combat. So the code of the samurai, the Bushido, this involves, while engaged in combat, being one with the experience. And so this is Zen Buddhism, our introduction. And what we'll look at next week is our final branch of Buddhism we'll be looking at in this class, and that is Vajrayana, or Tantric Buddhism. In the meantime, as always, stay safe, stay well, and stay tuned.